What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you for Wednesday, April 16th. The slump continues. We're on a three-day skid. I mean, it's a very gay skid as well. I was going to say game, but we're on a 3-day slide here. Yesterday, 3-4. I mean, I think it should have been better than that, to be honest. We did get it done with Calgary, late night hockey. Calgary came back from down 2 goals. They did not exactly play the best game, but they were the more motivated team there, and they actually wound up getting it done in overtime. So that felt good. Somewhat lucky on that one, but kind of unlucky, to be honest, on the Seattle game, even though I know they were losing like 6-2 late. It was a 2-2 game. Seattle, for the entire game, had the shot advantage, so it wasn't just like they were taking a ton of shots when they were losing. They had the shot advantage almost the entire, or for definitely the entire game, and they were just, their goaltending was awful yesterday, and they still almost came back. They scored multiple goals in a row late and cut it to 6-5, but fell short. In a way, it's like, just don't even tease me, man. Just lose. And then the Golden State Warriors, they were looking real good. I mean, they were dominating. And, of course, I want to be right on the Magic. Just like the other day where I said I'm going to stay off of that Philadelphia Phillies under. That game wound up going under, and the game that I wound up on was a total miss. Terrible. Yesterday, I was right about Orlando. Didn't win on Golden State, and they only missed by 2 points. It came down the stretch, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they'll push this because maybe they'll win by that exactly 7 that you get a lot of times when teams start intentionally fouling. But Golden State was up almost 20 points in the middle of that game, double-digit lead in the third quarter, and then they can't win by margin. Really pisses me off there. And I think Morant might have gotten hurt from Memphis as well. One thing I forgot to mention in that game, another factor, is that Golden State had a big coaching edge in that game with Steve Kerr, a very experienced coach, up against basically an interim coach for Memphis because they had fired their coach not that long ago. But what can you do there? Arizona, Miami was a complete miss on the under in baseball with Gillespie. His numbers weren't really that bad, like strikeout walk ratio wise, pretty decent. Didn't really give up that many hits either. Just basically all the guys that he put on base scored, and that completely ended that one. Baltimore Orioles didn't get there. They tried to make a game of it late. Just don't bet on Charlie Morton, I guess, even though Logan Allen isn't good. Allen actually did fine yesterday. Houston, St. Louis, that was the easiest one. That went way under. That was an easy win on that one. So yay for me on that one. And the Colorado Dodgers did get there on the under. That game was just sitting at 7, like from the 5th inning onward, basically, and then no runs were scored after that. So it stayed under the 8.5. So still got there. Colorado's offense still very weak. Dodgers bullpen helping us out there as well. Let's move on to today, man. We got NHL. I'll talk about first as the NHL comes down the stretch here in the regular season. Let's go to an NHL here. Short NHL card today. I have one play, and it's in this first game up at 7 p.m., and it's Carolina, Montreal. You know what I'm doing, man. Montreal, we don't have to lay a run line or a puck line on this one this time. We're only going to lay a money line on Montreal this time. Montreal is the only one of these two teams with anything to play for here, man. Carolina, I think they're packing it in. They're going to get ready for the playoffs. Montreal's flipped from a plus 110 dog to a minus 114 favorite. I think as long as you get it somewhere in that, like basically pick the winner money line range, I think you're good here. You're basically just saying, I think they're going to win the game. Carolina, they got nothing left to play for, man. I mean, they're 12 points behind Washington, so they cannot move up in the standings in the Metro, and they're 8 points ahead of the Devils, who did beat my Bruins yesterday. I was right about that one. So Carolina cannot move down either, so they're locked into the 2 seed, man. There's like nothing else to say about that. Not only that, but I'm pretty sure they're also locked into a 2-3 matchup here against the Devils as well. So I think they know who their opponent is going to be as well. So nothing left to play for here as it's shaping up. I mean, Tampa's going to play Florida. That's decided already. I believe Toronto playing Ottawa is already decided as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it is shaping up. But Montreal, they got to win, man, because Columbus is still only 2 points behind them and could bounce them out of the wild card. So Ottawa's clinched the wild card. Montreal's the only team left that hasn't clinched a playoff spot yet that's in the playoffs currently. So Montreal's got to win. They did get that 1 point in that overtime game, but that's not enough, man. They won they lost in overtime to Chicago, which gave them 1 point, but that's also ugly. A loss to Chicago. I mean, that's not good. So I think they're going to be a little bit more focused after that as well. 3 losses in a row. They don't want to end the season like this. Should be Montembeau back in net again. He'll play a couple of games in a row. And this is their final home game, man, against a very good Carolina team. So you know they got to show up focused here. So that's the way to play this game. They're the only team that should show up with a lot of focus here. Carolina, yeah, they just lost to Toronto, but again, they don't have anything left to play for. So they might pack it in, rest their guys. They also have one more game after this tomorrow against Ottawa, which they may even actually pay a little bit more attention to that game because that is their final game, and Ottawa's ahead of Montreal right now. So we'll be on the Montreal Canadiens, even though they are my nemesis as a Bruins fan. So that's that. Detroit and New Jersey, kind of an interesting line on this one. Detroit flipping from a plus 100 dog to a minus 126 favorite. New Jersey doesn't have anything left to play for either. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they're locked into this 3 spot in the Metro. So they got nothing left to play for. Detroit, of course, is eliminated. But if this is their last game, I actually don't know if it is. I think they have 2 games left. Yeah, so Detroit has 2 games left, but they still might show up just because they are getting to play a playoff team here. But then again, they just beat Tampa and Dallas. So Detroit coming off 2 big wins, and that Dallas win, I told you I liked Detroit in that game. Maybe I should have played it because Dallas didn't really have a whole lot to play for there. Dallas is just losing every game down the stretch, man, because they stopped really having anything to play for. So maybe a little bit of a misleading win for Detroit, just in that Dallas didn't really care about the game that much. We'll see what happens here, though. But Detroit, probably you don't want to lay a price on the road like that with them. So I'm not going to do that. Again, Dallas only laying minus 150 on the road at Nashville. Part of it is because the odds makers keep telling you that Nashville is a little bit better than you think that they are, but also Dallas, nothing left to play for. Like I said, they're just playing out the stretch here. They should probably start playing a little bit better to get ready for the playoffs, but they're locked in pretty much to this 2 seed here in the Central. I don't think Colorado can catch them, but I don't know. Maybe they don't even care that much. They're locked into that series against Colorado, but they'd probably prefer to host it. I'm pretty sure they're locked into that at this point. Yeah, I believe so. Anyway, yeah. So, and then we got, and Calgary, unfortunately for them, got eliminated despite winning yesterday. They are now eliminated. So St. Louis, with their win yesterday, clinched and blocked Calgary from being able to have a shot at it. So unfortunate for them. Vegas and Vancouver, if I was going to play any of these other NHL games, I would play Vancouver. They're up from minus 106 to minus 110 with 99% of the cash on them, despite 50% of tickets being evenly split. I do like Vancouver here. You know, I'm considering it more as I look at this. Vegas played last night, man, in that overtime loss to Calgary last night. 2 straight road games, back-to-back games. Aiden Hill should be back in net for them, though, as they had Samsonov last night with kind of a spot goalie start there. Now, Hill should be back in net for this one. They're better goalie. Probably just get him some playing time as we look forward to the playoffs, which is what they're going to be looking towards. Vancouver, this is both teams' final game, I believe. In Vancouver, this is their final home game. Coming off a game where they probably should not have been as bad against San Jose, went into overtime. They had Tolopilo in net, whoever the hell that is. I don't even know who that is. So Lankinen, their kind of top goalie, I guess, should probably be back in net here for this one for Vancouver. So they at least get that edge as well there. I do lean to Vancouver, though, because Vegas is on the back-to-back. They got nothing left to play for as Vegas is locked in. I believe they're locked into the 1 seed in the Pacific. The Y, I believe, means they've clinched the division, so they don't really have anything left to play for either. And they're on that back-to-back. So I do like Vancouver in that one. Not as strongly as Montreal, just because Montreal does actually have real motivation. Vancouver, their motivation would be, yeah, we want to win against Vegas at the very least. And I believe they actually just lost to Vegas at home pretty recently, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they did. They only have 2 losses in the last 6 games, and that was one of them at home to Vegas. So a little bit of revenge for Vancouver there. So I do like Vancouver in that one. Maybe I'll just stay away from it just to be a little bit more selective here today. NBA, we got the play-in games continuing here. I like both sides, and I like one a little bit more than the other here, just like yesterday. So you know that I'll get that one wrong, and the other one will be right? So Heat Bulls is the first game up. Of course, the Eastern Conference will be the first game up. And these are 9-10 matchups, unlike yesterday. Yesterday was the 7 and the 8. So both 7s won. So that means that Orlando will face my Boston Celtics. And I will be going to game 1 on Sunday of that series. It'll be fun to see Orlando in person with those young guys. Hopefully the Celtics can get it done. And Golden State will be going to play Houston, I believe, as the 7 seed. So that means that Atlanta will play the winner of this Heat Bulls game, and the winner of that game will then and Atlanta will host it, and the winner of that game will be the 8 seed. Golden State, who do they beat? Memphis. Yeah, Memphis will play the winner of Mavs Kings later on tonight. And that game will be played in Memphis, and the winner of that will get the 8 and immediately lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And again, the winner of Heat Bulls or Hawks, whichever team gets out of that, will likely lose to Cleveland. So isn't that great? Heat Bulls, though, the Bulls are only a 1-point favorite. So the odds makers are telling you, despite what we've seen during the regular season where the Bulls have beaten the Heat 3 times, including very recently on this same floor, odds makers are telling you the Heat are the better team, and I don't disagree with it. And the total is plummeting down from 224.5 to 219, again, because the total is plummeted in both these games. The odds makers are onto it, man. Since the play-in tournament has started, we've seen a lot of low-scoring games, and the reason for that is that these are playoff games, man. I mean, you get intense defense, basically. So even though I know at least one of the games last night, I think, went over. Orlando scored a ton of points against a very weak Atlanta defense. But these games tend to go under generally because of intense defense. So that's why we see that total dropping. But I also like that total is dropping because I'm going to be on Miami here. And part of the handicap is that Miami is the slower paced team, even though pacing doesn't matter as much in the NBA as it does in college. You'll see less of a discrepancy across the league. But if there ever was a discrepancy in the NBA, it would be a game like this where the Bulls are one of the fastest paced teams in all of the league and the Heat are one of the slowest. And the Bulls don't play defense. They score well. They don't play defense. The Heat play defense. So I like the Heat for that reason, man. And because the total's dropping, and I think if you like the Heat, you probably like this being a slower paced, lower scoring game as well. So I think those outcomes are correlated. I like the Heat in this one, even though the Bulls 63%, I think it's 70% of the cash right now, but the line not moving off of that number. The cash might move around a little bit here because I don't really think that is really accurate of what's going on in the market here. I think the Bulls are definitely a public side. I will take the Heat here, not only for the reason that I just said, better defense, slower team, which I like, especially in a playoff environment, but I think there's a huge coaching mismatch here. Even though Golden State didn't cover for me, but here we're just asking Miami to cover, and I'm taking them as a 1.5 point dog. There are some 1.5s out there right now as well. 1.5, 1, whatever you want. They're play money line underdog. I mean, you're basically saying they're going to win the game. So either way, but I mean, Miami has Eric Spoelstra, man, and I don't even know who the hell Chicago's coach is, to be honest. I think Miami has a big coaching mismatch here. Miami does still have the experience. Even though they lost Jimmy Butler, a lot of these guys have been in the playoffs the last couple of years. Miami has been in the play-in and or in playoff games recently. I think maybe Chicago lost in the play-in last year or something like that, but the Miami has more experience. Some of these guys have been in the actual playoffs before. Spoelstra has a huge coaching edge here, so I like Miami for those reasons, and I think their losses to Chicago, a lot of them are misleading, man, including this most recent one where they lost by 8. Miami was winning this game in the first half by double digits. And not only that, but Miami was winning all 3 games that they lost to Chicago. They were winning all 3 of them by double digits and wound up losing all 3, which is kind of crazy. Chicago also shot a bit crazy in this game, 51.7% from the field. They lost the turnover battle, which kind of worries me because Miami still didn't win despite that. But I think this is a game where, I mean, these teams just saw each other. The Heat are going to make adjustments. Josh Giddey played in this game, and I think he's been hurt, although he should play in this game. I believe he will be back. I don't think there are any really significant injuries coming into this particular game, really. So, I mean, we could look real quick, but let me see here. I believe Giddey will play. Lonzo Ball, game time decision as well. I mean, if they can play, they're going to. I expect they're going to play. The biggest Heat injury is probably Jovic. Game time decision as well. expect that he'll be out there as well. So we're going to go with the Miami Heat. And then in the other game, I leaned to Dallas plus the points in the other game and haven't quite gotten there with that one. Kings down from 5 to 4.5 with juice. So some line movement towards the Mavs. Again, a big total drop. And I think the total drop also probably correlates to the Mavs covering here as well, because I think if the Mavs are going to win this game, it is going to be in the interior. So in kind of a slower, more like defensive, physical, like 2-point style of game. 62% of tickets, 76% of the cash coming into the Kings. I think the public still doesn't really want much to do with the Mavs, though, even though it does look like more of the cash just coming in on the Kings right now. I mean, the Mavs just got crushed by Memphis, but I was on that game, and I thought the Mavs are going to have more of their actual starters in there, and they wound up not playing a lot of their starters. Memphis basically played none of their starters in that game, but Dallas has looked awful down the stretch, losing 4 of 5. But again, AD didn't come back until these last few games. They're having to work him back in. I mean, he got hurt in his first game with them, so they're still getting used to the chemistry with him. And that's part of the reason why I don't quite want to take this one. Although AD is certainly going to improve the team, man. I mean, he's the best player out there on the floor. Like in this game, I would say he's the best player out there, and he's got playoff experience. Dallas is the more experienced team, and they have way more size on the interior with AD, Lively, Gafford. They all should be playing in this game. I believe Washington should also be playing, so no real injury concerns. Sacramento without Malik Monk, but that's been the case for a while, so one of their scorers won't be there for this game. But I think Dallas, a little bit misleading down the stretch, man, and losing 2 games on the road to the Clippers, losing to the Lakers, and then on the road to Memphis in a game that was like, whatever, neither team played their starters. I wouldn't take that much away from all that. And I think Dallas, that was just such an embarrassing loss. I think you're going to see real focus out of Dallas here. The other question that I have with Dallas, though, is just like I had with Memphis last night, going out to the Pacific Coast to play a late game can kind of mess with your biological clock a little bit. So I do worry about that. Sacramento is nowhere near as good as Golden State is, though. And I think Dallas, they have the experience edge. I mean, these guys were on a team in the NBA Finals last year, man, for Dallas. So these guys have experience. They have Jason Kidd as coach, I believe, and he was there. So he's got the experience as well. I think he is the better coach. Way more experience on the Dallas side. You're giving me points with Dallas here. Sacramento, yeah, they don't have as much experience. I don't think they're as good defensively. They don't have as much size, aren't as good on the interior, and they fired their coach towards the end of the season. So that's another thing. They've been going with Doug Christie, I think, for a while now, though the players do seem to like him, but he's an inexperienced coach, man. So I do think experience looms large. Pretty tempted to play the Mavs here, but I think I may stay off of it, but that is the way that I would lean in that game. Let's go to Major League Baseball, and then we'll get out of here, man. I do have some plays in Major League Baseball, of course, because I always do. First game up, I do have a play, and I'm going to play the Atlanta Braves money line, minus 142. I think you might be able to get a cheaper price on this right now. Let me see. Let's look at what the price is. They're down from minus 145 to minus 139, but they got the cash coming into them. It looks like right now 68% of the cash coming into them. This is an afternoon game, by the way. 51% of tickets on Toronto. I like Atlanta here, man. I think the public is hesitant to do this because Spencer Strider is pitching for Atlanta. He's basically not played for 2 years now. He's coming back from injury, and I know that's a concern when a guy's coming back from injury, but they would not be putting him out there if they didn't think he was ready to come back. And if he's ready to come back and he's anywhere near what he was prior to that injury, I mean, he's still a young guy, and he was very, very good. People probably forget he was like a ridiculous strikeout pitcher. His strikeout rate was unbelievably high. I mean, look at these numbers. 281 strikeouts and 186 2/3 in 32 starts. It was 20-5 in 2023, a 1.09 whip, 3.86 ERA. His ERA the previous year was better than that, although some relief appearances there. His career strikeout walk ratio, even including a couple starts before when he got injured last year, 4.5. I mean, this guy is a strikeout machine. He is good, and people forget about this. I mean, he is really good. And if Atlanta is adding him back to the rotation, he's close to what he was back then, which wasn't that long ago, and he's still a young guy, so young guys bounce back from injury better. This Atlanta rotation could be really, really imposing with all the S guys there, the S men, with Strider, Schwellenbach, Sale, and Smith-Shawver even isn't that bad. That's so many S's, but this could really bolster their rotation, man. Strider, I'm going to go with it here. I'm going to say that he will have a good game here. I'm going to go with it, and hopefully Atlanta is able to back him up with some hitting and some bullpen. Why did that not work? Should be bat versus pitch. I see it. I can't type. Wait, what? Oh my God, I can't even type it. I hate how ESPN, like, again, when the guy's coming back from injury or whatever, they just don't like give you that tab of batter versus pitcher. But Strider versus Toronto, they haven't seen that much of him. 14 at bats worth, so limited action against him. So some of these guys aren't even familiar with him. 5 strikeouts, no walks. He's held him to a 214 average and 571 OPS over that span. So even the guys that have seen him did not do well against Strider. So he has a nice edge in this game. I think Chris Bassett going for Toronto, he's been good. I mean, his ERA is ridiculous so far this year, 0.98, but he's 10 years older than Strider. And I think at some point we're going to see a little bit of regression out of him, even though I don't think he's bad. I mean, I think he's a pretty good pitcher. He's got a 21-3 strikeout walk ratio so far, but he's faced, some struggling offenses. Boston, Baltimore, the Mets have been okay. And he's facing the Braves now. The Braves don't kill him, but they hit him okay in 83 at bats. So they're very familiar with him. They do have 10 walks, which is a bit of a concern for him. 23-10 strikeout walk ratio is not that good. 253 average against is good, but a 774 OPS is a bit high. He's allowed 3 home runs to them that are spread out across the lineup as well. So the Braves have hit Bassett decently. So I think Strider does have the advantage. I think there's a reason why the money's coming in on that side. Looks like a steep price to pay for Atlanta here. It looks misleading almost. We have this 5-12 Braves team as a road favorite, 2-10 on the road against a 6-3 home team, Blue Jays, 10-8 Blue Jays, and somehow the Braves are that much of a favorite. It just looks like such a suspect line, man. But the odds makers are telling you Strider is that dominant a pitcher, and if he's ready to go, coming back from injury here, and yeah, if he's ready to go, he's going to be pumped up to get back into action, man. You would have to believe. So I like that. And Toronto won the game last night, and they used more of their better relief pitchers, I believe, in that game as well. So I think maybe the bullpen rest edge slightly goes to Atlanta as well. So we got the Braves in that game. Let's keep going. I would lean slightly to an over, I guess, in Detroit and Milwaukee. And Keter Montero is coming back for Detroit. I don't even know if he was injured or if he was just in AAA or something, because he wasn't really getting it done totally. I mean, he was a serviceable pitcher, I guess, last year, but he's really not great. Jose Quintana, he pitched really well for the Mets last year into the playoffs, but I still don't trust him, and he's a really, really old pitcher at this point. So I think the over might make sense in that game. We don't know who's pitching for the Mets in this game against Minnesota, so very hard to handicap. David Festa could have a little bit of an edge, though, as he's a decent young pitcher who could be becoming something there from Minnesota. And I think he has decent numbers against the Mets in limited playing time. Houston and St. Louis, you got Steven Matz. He's the worst pitcher versus Blanco, and he has bad numbers against Houston. So probably a slight lean to the Houston side there. But Blanco, even though he's got okay numbers against St. Louis for the most part, his OPS is pretty high against them. I don't know if I trust Blanco entirely. The money is coming in on that side, though, with the cash percentage on Houston right now. As you can see, 55% of the cash, 65% of tickets on St. Louis. Line has been driven up from -103 to -112 on Houston. Next game up, I got to play on the Cubs as an underdog. I'm going to go right back with the Cubs again after they won in a close 2-1 game that I think might have gone into extra innings last night. I told you I liked the Cubs last night. Imanaga got the job done for them, but the Cubs were not able to hit Vasquez. Vasquez, good career numbers against the Cubs, so I did say that the under could have potentially been worth a look in that game too, even though I preferred the Cubs side in that game, which did get there, but it wasn't the way that I thought, as Vasquez was better than I expected. But now that San Diego has lost the game, I thought they were 9-0 at home. I think they're actually 11-0 at home. So if you look at San Diego, yeah, they're a good team, but I don't know if they're as good as we think they are right now. And they started the season against this Braves team that's been struggling, against Cleveland. Both of those series are at home. They lost the road series to Chicago. They won a road series against the A's, the homeless A's, and then they beat Colorado back at home. So San Diego's played most of their series at home, and really Chicago's been the only really good team that they've faced so far, and they've done very mediocre against the Cubs. In fact, the Cubs are the only team that's beaten them. I think. Oh no, the A's beat them once. So 3 out of San Diego's 4 losses on the season are to the Cubs. So the Cubs could definitely handle them. San Diego, they're a good team, like I said, but played a lot of games at home, and I know they're at home here, but I think their record is a little bit better than what you would normally get out of San Diego, just because they've faced a pretty easy schedule so far. And now that they've finally lost a home game, that streak is over. They lost last night. Tough extra innings loss to Chicago last night. Big effort game for San Diego. They lost a win streak as well, as they had swept Colorado. They'd won 5 games in a row. And a lot of times when you see a team lose a game like that in a step-up game, and they lose not only 1 streak but 2 because they lost their home undefeated streak and home undefeated record, a lot of times you'll see them slide in the next game, and you'll see it kind of hang them over into the next game. And I think that might be what we get here out of San Diego. So I'm looking the Cubs' way, and then I'm looking at this pitching matchup. Matthew Boyd, I mean, I know I've talked about him, and he's in his 30s now, and I was saying last year, like, I don't know how he started doing that much better last year than what his career numbers were, because his career numbers are atrocious. So I'm like, what did he find last year all of a sudden? But whatever's going on, it's kind of continued into this year, man. Although his walk number is too high, so that is a concern. But he shut out San Diego the last time he faced them, although that was in Wrigley, but this is a better pitching park here at Petco or whatever it's called now. It does mean San Diego just saw him, so that is a little bit of a concern. So I wouldn't expect Boyd to have a 6-inning shutout this time, and I am a little bit concerned about his walks, as he does have 7 walks, but 6 of them were in the non-San Diego starts at Arizona and at the Dodgers. So those were his most difficult starts, man, facing 2 really good offenses, and Arizona being a hitter's park as well. So Boyd is actually, overall, he's done well this season against some pretty quality competition. So I think he is actually able to pitch right now. So I like him well enough that I'm going to look this way. And San Diego, we do have 63 at-bats worth of a sample size here, so not just that most recent game, and he's held them to a 238 average and 680 OPS. So Boyd has done pretty well against this Padres lineup, but not just in that last game, even though, yes, it does mean they're recently familiar with him. But the recent familiarity goes both ways, man, as Nick Pivetta off to a good start this year as well, former Red Sox. I expect he's going to regress a little bit from where his numbers are right now. Boyd probably will as well, but Pivetta's been alternating bad and good starts, and look what his good starts were. They were in this really pitcher-friendly park against a Braves team that was really struggling out of the gate, and against Colorado. And we know Colorado can't hit, especially away from Coors Field. His one really bad game was at Wrigley Field in that game against the Cubs, which I believe was the same pitching matchup, right? Let me see. Yeah, it was Boyd against Pivetta, and the Cubs won that game easily. And you might say, well, that means that this is a zigzag, right? It means that the pitchers, like Pivetta's going to bounce back, Boyd's going to regress. You might think that. But I don't know if it works that way, man, because baseball is so matchup dependent. A lot of times you'll see the same result again rather than like, oh, this team is going to adjust. And because Pivetta just saw the Cubs just saw him, so they're used to facing him as well. So the familiarity goes both ways here. So I think it's kind of a wash. And then if you look at his numbers against the Cubs are not good. In 78 at-bats, he's allowed 4 home runs, although they're all Swanson and Turner. 25 to 6 strikeout walk ratio is good, but they've hit him to a 295 average and 884 OPS. So Pivetta has really struggled against them. So we're going to go with the Cubs at an underdog price here. And the money looks like it's agreeing as San Diego's down from minus 125 to minus 118, 89% of tickets and 80% of the cash. So very public San Diego team. Public expecting them to bounce back as they have the better record. I think the public knows Pivetta. They don't know Boyd. Boyd being a left-hander is also sometimes lefties will throw hitters off as well. But the money is driving that line down, reverse line moving against a very public side. So that is usually a good market indicator. Let's keep going, trying to get this done here. Gavin Williams against Dean Creamer. I mean, in this Cleveland-Baltimore game, I don't have a play on this one. I know Creamer, I don't like him, as people who watch my show know. I think he's a bad pitcher. Williams, I think, may turn into something decent, but Williams has bad numbers against Baltimore, and Creamer has good numbers against Cleveland. So I think Creamer does have the starting pitching matchup edge there. I won't play it. What I am going to play, because I think we're getting a good price on this, is Miami. I'm playing both Miamis here. Miami is a money line underdog, plus 140. You're getting them at a decent price at home here, and what I think is a decent starting pitching matchup. And Miami used less of their bullpen yesterday, I believe, as well against Arizona. Or at best, I think the bullpen situation is a little bit of a wash, even though Arizona's bullpen is better. But Miami started off this series bad with a 10-4 loss yesterday. And I told you, Gillespie actually pitched better in that game than what it looked like. And as you can see here, the hits weren't that far. Usually hits kind of indicate what you're going to get run-wise. And Arizona only won the hit battle 11-9, but it was a 10-4 result. So Arizona scored more runs than you would expect with that amount of hits. And Miami scored a couple fewer runs maybe than you'd expect with that amount of hits. And by the way, Atlanta, in that loss to Toronto yesterday, they actually out-hit Toronto. So Atlanta was just very inefficient. Toronto scored 6 runs on 6 hits. You don't usually see that. Atlanta had 8 hits, but only scored 3 runs. So that tells you that Atlanta's offense is doing all right here, whereas maybe Toronto's isn't doing as well right now. So that's another reason I like Atlanta there. But I like Miami here, man, in this game, which it does look like a pitching matchup. So maybe an under would kind of make sense here, but I'm not going to go that way, as I think Miami's going to bounce back for an embarrassing loss. I think Arizona might be feeling a little high on themselves. Brandon Pfaadt is pitching. I know he's good. He's a good young pitcher. 12-3 strikeout walk ratio so far is good. Not a really high K rate. He's allowed 4 home runs, although 3 of them were on the road against Washington, but his one road start was his worst start at Washington. His better starts were at home, surprisingly, against Chase Field. Difficult pitching environment. But against Miami, we only have an 18 at-bat sample size, so even when Miami didn't see him that much, they actually hit him around. He's allowed a 389 average and 894 OPS. Yes, it is in a limited sample size, but Pfaadt has not been able to pitch well against Miami, so their hitters actually do decently. And on the other side, we got Max Meyer, who's a young pitcher that I talk about on the show sometimes. He didn't quite get it together last year, but he might be starting to get it together now. As you can see, he's off to a nice start to this season, man, even though I know he hasn't faced the greatest offenses. Pittsburgh, within 2 road games. Atlanta, who's, maybe starting to turn it around a little bit. And the Mets, not a bad team. And he's pitched pretty well overall. 19-5 strikeout walk ratio is pretty nice. Only 15 hits allowed in 18 innings. His stats are good this year, man. He's a pretty talented young pitcher. 2 ERA so far, 1.11 whip. And the clincher is Arizona's never seen him before. So when you have a young, talented pitcher like this, as I always reiterate on the show, you want to look their way against an offense that hasn't seen them before, because they should have an early advantage there. So I'm going to go with Miami. I think you're getting a really nice price on the full game here. For some reason, the line has been driven up from minus 150 to minus 158. I don't see where the money is yet on this. But that's I like it. I think it's a good price to be getting on, where I think you have a starting pitching edge in this game. I will go full game on it. If you want to go with a similar price on the first 5 inning wager and just play the starting pitching matchup, I think that's okay as well. Robbie Ray and Aaron Nola does kind of look like an under matchup in the San Francisco-Philadelphia game. I skipped a few games here, though. I'm trying to get this done quick, man. I still don't really trust Robbie Ray. Nola is the more established pitcher, but I think Nola actually doesn't do that well against San Francisco, if I remember correctly. Let me just make sure that that's right. I want to try to get this done fast, man. No, his numbers are okay against San Francisco, so I don't know what I'm saying. I think both pitchers have okay numbers, so an under might make sense in that game. Washington, Pittsburgh, even though these are 2 lefties, Parker's been pitching well. Falter, maybe not so much. Neither pitcher has good numbers against the opposing lineups there, so an over might be the way to look in that game, even though we've seen overs going on in that series. Speaking of overs, nice transition. I have one in Seattle, Cincinnati here, man. Bryce Miller, I know he's a good pitcher, but he's significantly worse away from home, and he hasn't even been that good this year so far. The 1.44 whip, 4.5 ERA, not good. His one road game was his worst, too, at the Giants. He's really been wild, walking 8 guys in 16 innings, only with 13 strikeouts. So not a good ratio there. He's been wild. Away from home, he's not as good. His worst start was on the road. And against Cincinnati, he doesn't do well. In 29 at bats, 7.1 strikeout walk ratio is good, but 310 batting average from these Reds hitters and 920 OPS. So Miller has struggled. And this is not Seattle anymore, man, which is the most pitcher-friendly park in the league. We're playing in one of the least pitcher-friendly parks in the league here in Cincinnati, so I think it's going to help the offense. I think Miller won't do as well in this environment. Nick Martinez, he's better than he looks. That 6.06 ERA is not really indicative of what he is. 1.22 whip is fine. I mean, he's been decent. 15-4 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, but he has given up the long ball, 3 home runs, and 2 of them were in this stadium at home. So he hasn't been terrific. And against Seattle, even though their offense isn't that good, he hasn't been good against them. In 31 at bats, 323 average allowed, 884 OPS, and a 7-4 strikeout walk ratio. So I think Seattle, even though their offense sucks, might be able to get the job done against him. I know yesterday's game in this series went over as well, but it is an over-conducive ballpark. It's going to be probably in the 50s, somewhere around 60. So not a cold game, really. So warm enough that I think the hitting can happen in this game. Pitching matchup looks good for it. The bullpen's got used a bit. So we're going with that. I do have one more play here. I mean, Red Sox, Newcomb against Littell. You know I don't trust Newcomb. I think he sucks major ass. Littell actually has good numbers against Boston, even though I don't really trust him either. Probably lean to Tampa, but we'll see what happens. Bubic, I've been talking about him not being good, but he's actually been excellent this year so far. The Yankees have Clark Schmidt returning from injury, and I say the return from injury, usually the guy gets pumped up a little bit, but Schmidt has actually struggled against Kansas City. Bubic hasn't done well against the Yankees either. So in the Bronx, it's kind of an over-conducive ballpark. Maybe an over makes sense in that particular game. A's Chicago, you got Beto, who I think is definitely the worst pitcher against Cannon. I think neither pitcher has good numbers against the opposing lineups, but I'd probably trust Cannon a little bit more just because he's a little bit younger and there's a little bit more expected out of him. My final play, I just have to do this, man. Anaheim minus 115. We're playing against Patrick Corbin. I mean, what can you do? Anaheim up from minus 112 to minus 113, 62% of tickets, 77% of the cash. So they do have the money coming into them. And I see Patrick Corbin listed, and I'm like, I'm just going to go against them. Like, what else can you do? Texas shut out Anaheim last night to start this series. So I think Anaheim's going to be in bounce back mode after that. I mean, that was not a good performance from them. But Texas switched Patrick Corbin out for a better pitcher because I forget who it was, but everybody's a better pitcher than Patrick Corbin. So he shouldn't even still be in the league, to be honest, man. So I think we're getting a cheap price here, honestly, where it's just a pick 'em line. Texas used more of the back end of their bullpen yesterday as well to save the game. Jose Soriano's been good this year, 2.7 ERA, 1 whip. For Anaheim, I know he's faced some weak offenses, White Sox, Tampa. He's been good. I mean, 18-8 strikeout walk ratio, 12 hits in 20 innings. He's been very difficult to hit. He's been a little bit wild, which is a little bit of a concern, but he's been going fairly deep into games, and Texas doesn't do well against him. In 25 at-bats, 200 average, 619 OPS. Good numbers for Soriano. And then Corbin, I mean, you're never going to see good numbers out of Corbin. 6.75 ERA on the season in 1 start. That wasn't good, although it was against the Cubs at Wrigley. So it was actually kind of respectable, but he had no strikeouts, which is quite alarming as well in that game. 1.75 whip. Not good against Anaheim, 127 at-bats, 30-11 strikeout walk ratio, and 4 home runs allowed isn't good, although every single one of those is J.D. Davis. So if you want some hitters props, hits plus runs plus RBIs over on J.D. Davis, man. He wrecks Corbin. And yeah, I know Corbin overall has held him to a 236 average, 683 OPS. That's not as bad as you would think, but he's not a good pitcher. So we'll go with Anaheim there. And then this Dodgers-Colorado game, and Bobby Miller, I think, is returning from injury there. He's obviously the better of the 2 pitchers. LA's the way better team, but laying minus 300, I mean, that's way too much of a price. Tower Game Toad on Twitter. Follow us, patreon.com/Tower Game. Support us, and we will be back with an episode of Tower Game tonight at 9:11 p.m. Eastern for some hilarity. Peace out, guys.